Hey, this is Chrissy from Against the Current, and you're listening to the Rock Sound Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the Rock Sound Podcast. I'm Will Cross. Tamsin, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good. It's a little bit cold outside.
It is cold. We are in the middle of a blizzard right now in the UK.
I looked outside my window and I was like, I can't believe they're making me go in to record the podcast today because that is one hell of a blizzard that is blowing.
Yeah, but you made it.
I made it through. I powered through just for you guys.
That's it. And Jack Rogers, hello.
All right, Will. Merry Cribness.
Yeah, you too, man. How's it going?
It's all right. It's just cold. It's just
got your hands in your hoodie pockets.
That's what you think.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Starting off well.
Right. No. On that note, before we do anything else, right? This is going to be the last Rock Sound podcast for a little while, but we are going to be back with a brand new format in the near future with all sorts of exciting new features, cool new stuff, loads and loads of stuff to get involved with. So that's all to come. So keep an eye out for all of that online, our SoundCloud and our iTunes, rocksound.tv, everything online. Check out, keep your eye out. Going to be absolutely amazing. So today is going to be an absolute blockbuster, total riot before we go on break for a little while. So follow us on SoundCloud, subscribe to us on iTunes. Last week we had our new issue launch special, which was absolutely amazing. Jack chatting to Austin Knight, Patty Walters, Waterparks and As It Is, when Patty met Austin. You guys out there absolutely loving it. Seeing you guys respond to this issue, just how excited all of you have been, ordering up the bundles. It's been absolutely amazing. Getting to know who are essentially the leaders of a new generation of bands, absolutely amazing. But this week, we have got some very, very exciting stuff. So to celebrate the announcement of their secret, amazing comeback album, Erase Me, we spoke to both Spencer Chamberlain and Aaron Gillespie from Underoath in revealing, honest, and at points quite shocking back-to-back interviews. Absolutely incredible. If you're an Underoath fan, you have to listen to this. The guys were completely open, honest, full-on amazing interviews. And then we chat to the absolutely brilliant Beau Bokan from Blessthefall, who've also been through a really, really amazing journey to chat all about their brand new album Hard Feelings, their switch from labels from Fearless onto Rise, and how they feel it's their time to shine after, what again is in a very honest and open interview that Beau felt that they were taken for granted of and they were kind of left in the dark with a lot of things. So it was an amazing chat in that respect too. But Jack, I did that all first to kind of drum up a little bit of excitement, but it's the last little sing-song roulette for the break.
Yeah, and what is it, Will?
It is, I want to dance with somebody.
Sorry, can I just, if you could see the look on Jack's face right now.
I mean, no one should sing Whitney. If people haven't noticed, it's because FOB have covered it for Spotify, and it's great. And it's the fact that no one should cover Whitney Houston because, who can? Only Patrick, and then
I believe that you can.
Tamsin's excited.
All right,
you got to do it for Tamsin.
See, I wanna dance with somebody. I wanna feel the heat with somebody. Yeah, I wanna dance with somebody who loves me.
That was everything I'd ever wanted.
That was amazing.
It's like she's living through me now.
Yeah.
On that note,
moving on.
Tamsin.
News. Big news in the Rock Sound world. The Rock Sound breakout stage has been announced for this year's Slam Dunk Festival, and it is sick. Amazing lineup of the most exciting new bands around. Palais Royale will headline along with performances from Chapel, Dream State, Grayscale, Holding Absence, Milestones, Sleep On It, Stand Atlantic, and The Fame. We are stoked.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, big up.
Big time.
Fall Out Boy have unveiled unreleased Mania demos in the form of, wait, what?
Llama Mania.
Yeah, Llama Mania.
Llama Mania.
Llama-mania. Okay. Can someone please just turn Jack around?
Yeah. It's on bad behaviour.
It's quite the
main.
Asking Alexandra have covered Ed Sheeran's Perfect, because why not? The cover was done for Sirius XM, and you can check it out on our website. Head to rocksound.tv. Don Broco Trophy Eyes, Straight from the Path and more have been announced for Reading and Leeds. Parkway Drive have released a new song and video called Wishing Wells, and Underoath have revealed their comeback album Erase Me, that's due for release on April 6th, with new song On My Teeth now online.
Yes, they have. That leads us straight into our double interview with Underoath. Absolutely incredible stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to run Aaron first, and then we're going to go straight into Spencer. So just so much to get through here. The new album Erase Me, we've heard it. It's absolutely amazing. When that came through, like, that was it before it was announced. It was just like, oh my god, there's an album. So absolutely incredible. Just all about the comeback, why the band split up in the first place, struggles with religion, struggles with drug addiction, going through hell and back to come back to be able to be the strongest that they believe Underoath has ever been. Absolutely amazing. So without further ado, here we go. Aaron Gillespie of a rejuvenated, reformed Underoath. Here we go. So it's obviously the first album as the reformed lineup. It's a huge moment. What made you decide to do the album? Because obviously, you had the shows back, and then you had touring, and then you've kind of built up to it. So what was the major decision behind going into a brand new album?
I don't know if it was like a specific moment, if you will. I think that a question like this is best answered by saying, it was this day, we sat down and had some drinks and decided, but we honestly, it was just like one of those things that happens over time, where I think that, we've always been one of those bands that doesn't, we get bored quick, in a sense where we always have just in sound checks been messing with songs back in the day. We were never, ever really just playing our songs and leaving. It was always like working on something new or some interlude for the show, so it's just a natural thing that we always do, that we always just create. So I think that, when we decided we were going to stay a band and not just do one tour, it was just kind of the natural thing that we did, was kind of begin to write an album and begin to think about how we would create an album, There's no fun story, it just kind of happened.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, because obviously as well with previous albums in this in the original incarnation of the band. I mean, obviously you guys, I was reading up, and you guys would fight for certain songs, and there'd be a fair bit of clashing in that sense as you'd be creating the albums. Were you worried that might be the case again, or did it just feel very level as you went into it?
We made a different decision with this album. We wrote this album kind of separately. Like Spencer and I did a lot of writing together, and Chris and Tim did a lot of writing together, and then we just kind of put all these songs in a pot and picked through them, which we've never done. It's always been like, let's really fight for 12 songs, 11 songs, whatever, and then we'll hopefully get to the zero at the end. You know what I mean? This time we really truly. We just wrote a ton of songs, which we've never done, which is why I think that this is such a great record for us, because we really had a ton to choose from. We weren't trying to pick up the pieces and meld things together. We really had a ton of material to choose from. So it was more level in the sense that it wasn't as much of a war to get through. Do you know what I mean? It was more of like a, let's pick the best 11, 12 songs. Let's not, try to fight over these, and it was a different process this time. This is the first time that there's only been 4 of us in the studio, and there's still 6 of us in the band, but only 4 of us actually recorded on the record. So it was a totally different process, and it was a really trusting process. I would leave for weeks at a time when Tim would be playing guitars, and Spencer and I would leave and write lyrics for a few days, and it was a way more level process. So, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we really knew what kind of record, and we really didn't know what kind of record we wanted to make. We just knew we wanted to make a great record. And then it being 8 years since we made a record, we really felt like it had to be something special. So we really just kind of dug our heels in and trusted each other,
Definitely, yeah. Because what were the reasons for the 4 of you going in to record? Obviously, with the 6 of you still being in the band.
Yeah, we with Underoath, we it's always been like the other 2 guys really giving their input and kind of their artistic direction on the songs. But they were never kind of bread and butter writers, if you will. You know, they would have great ideas and great direction, and that's stuff that we still took from them for this record. They just weren't there for the process. You know, so we would present them songs and be like, what do you think? And they would say, this should be this way, or this should be that way. But before, they were always in the room, and it created kind of this more difficult way of working. So we found a more streamlined way of doing it, you know, where they still get the same input into the material that they would before, but it's a more streamlined environment. And I think a lot of that comes with age. You know, we're all in our 30s, so it's not that 20s like angst thing of being like, I have to be there for every second. Fuck you if you don't want me to be. You know what I mean? Like, This was more like they understood and we understood, and we got the same shit done without having to spend as much time as normal, kind of arguing over the material, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. No, totally. As well, I mean, you know, your time away from the band as well, you know, obviously everything you've done with the Almost, and, you know, obviously you did lots of Paramore as well. And like, you know, you've been doing so many different things. Did that really help as well with this album? And that you came back into it feeling refreshed, I guess? And like you say, you know, you all like so many different styles of music these days. I mean, did that time away really kind of play into that?
Oh, I mean, and I think for everybody, even though, you know, a lot of those guys weren't off doing something in the industry like I was, like, you kind of miss where home is. You know what I mean? Like, if you left England and went to China for 3 weeks, you'd be like, man, it'd be really nice to be at home. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, not that China's a bad place. There's lots of great stuff in China, and there's lots of great things about what I did. You know, I mean, I got to do bucket list things with Paramore. You know, we did 2 nights at the Wembley, you know, like, I mean, I got to do things that I never thought I would get to do, but still you really miss home. You know what I mean? You miss what you're supposed to be doing. You know, like that's what you were designed to do. You missed your mom's roast dinner, so to speak, to put it in British terms. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. And it just really throws you into, like, when you get back with your people and you get back creating where you first created, I think that the art becomes more pure. Does that make sense? Like, it's more honest than any Underoath record, and it's more vital than any Underoath record. And I think a lot of that is because we felt like it was so important to really put ourselves out there more than we ever have, especially like thematically and lyrically. And I think all of that time away really helped me really want to go after those things. So, yeah.
Definitely. No, you can hear that. Because, I mean, you know, moving on to the lyrics, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, especially the way that you and Spencer have always bounced off each other when it's come to the lyric department has always been particularly striking. I mean, and that's very much the case again on this record. I mean, in terms of lyrics, obviously, they go very, very deep. It's a very heavy album lyrically. Like, where were you coming from in particular? Which angle were you coming from lyrically this time?
You know, I think that it's interesting because I think that we really grabbed into 2 real themes on this record. And one is like loss. And I think that is a loss of, for me, I was going through a divorce at the time when we were writing the record, and Spencer was dealing with getting off drugs at the time. So it was the loss of those 2 things and how we really realized that those 2 things were very close in thematically for both of us. So we were able to sit down and write all these songs together, and it makes sense. And then the second thing is a lot of struggles with where we came from, and kind of how we were brought up as kids, and kind of how we portrayed ourselves for a long time with a religious background, which we don't really subscribe to anymore. And that's not to say that certain people don't have beliefs, but we don't subscribe to being a religious band. We don't talk about those things. And there was a lot of us kind of coping with the fact that we came out of that and how we feel on the backside of that, and what we believe that to be, you know. So those are the 2 main themes. And this is the first record that Spencer and I ever, we've always written stuff together, but then we had things that we would write and then bring to each other and kind of, you know, make a cocktail with it, if you will. And this is the first time we actually sat down and wrote every song together.
Wow.
Which is really cool. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Cause I mean, having to go through those things, especially, I mean, going through them together and putting them down to the paper. I mean, was it particularly difficult? I mean, it must have been a very, very cathartic experience, especially, like you say, you know, kind of even letting go of certain things that have partly defined the band, you know, in the past. Was it particularly difficult to go through?
I think that, you know, the defining things of the band in the past, those were freeing things to go through. Not difficult in the sense. It was difficult to say the things that we said on this record, but it was freeing because I think that for many, many years during Underoath, we were where we held that term of a Christian band. A lot of us didn't feel that way, you know? And it was just, it's one of those things like in your family where you just have this unspoken thing that you never stop doing and you don't know why, you know? And for us to put a label on our band is just something I don't think is safe. I don't think music should ever have a label, because once you put a label on something and say, this is a vegan band, or this is a Christian band, or this is a satanic band, or this is a fucking hamburger only band, well, you know, whatever, you begin to make that music for only that group of people, you know? So for us, it was freeing to take that label off. But, the other part of the record that was very cathartic was everything we were going through personally, Spencer and I, and how we could really draw a line between the two and really realize how close they were thematically. But yeah, the first, you know, we started writing songs. So we're beginning of 2018 now. We started writing probably at the end of 2016. Oh,
wow.
So the longest we've ever written for a record. And Spencer would come out and stay with me out west here in America. And I have a studio where I produce lots of other bands, and I would just black out the studio for, you know, 2 or 3 weeks, and we would just dig our heels in. And it's very weird to think back, even where we were emotionally and mentally then, as to where we are now, and this thing is being released. It's almost like we're different people, and almost like this record kind of helped us kind of get through those times, you know, which is really cool to say, because I think that in our past records, you know, we definitely poured our hearts and our guts into them, but this is the first one that we really ever been this up front, you know, and I think that it's really been cathartic for us. So yeah, for sure. Yeah, actually, that leads on to what I was going to ask next, because I mean, with this record, obviously, like, you know, like we've been saying, it is hugely different, and there are moments that really knock you left field. I mean, obviously, bits of it sound, you know, have that classic Underoath feel, but there are so many parts that feel like new ground for the band. And I mean, like, is that the main point of this record then? You know, that you wanted to kind of, it was basically do something new, do something that was a leap again for Underoath and would stand up in its own shoes, essentially, rather than just, you know, releasing, like you say, Define the Great Line Part 2, or, you know, They're Only Chasing Safety Part 2. Was that something that was very, very conscious in your minds? Absolutely. And I don't think that, you know, it wasn't conscious in our minds, like, let's make this super different. I think it was, we really just dug our heels in and said, let's make the best songs that we can make. And if they're different, you know, if they're completely something else, then that's okay. Like, you know, we had conversations for a year leading up to making this record. You know, we made it over the summer, this past year. And then we spent forever mixing the thing. We just got the finals back around Christmas time. So, you know, we spent all this time talking about making this record, and we spent all this time writing songs. But what we really realized in the end was that it was dangerous for us to kind of look at each other and say, you know, this doesn't feel like Underoath. This doesn't feel like us. You know, we realized halfway through that this is us. This is what we do. It's the 6 of us. This is our music. It's going to sound like Underoath, even if, you know, to quote you, it feels a little bit left field. You know what I mean? And to me, you know, hearing people say that, that's the goal for me. That's like, oh, we did it. Like, we did it. Because you can listen to it and go, oh, it's those guys. And it has that urgency and that Underoath feel, and it feels very now and very passionate and vital, but it's something else. And that was the thing that we kind of proved to ourselves, was that I got fucking angry one day because someone was like, oh, this doesn't sound like us. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Us hasn't been in us in 8 years, so who cares?
Yeah.
Right? Like, who cares what us is? But it's funny now to come out of making this record and not really paying attention to what us means, but it's still being us. So to me, that kind of proves to myself and kind of proves to us that we made the right record, because it still feels like Underoath, but it's something completely different, you know, and we really didn't, that wasn't our thing, was even trying to feel like Underoath. We just made the best record that we knew how to make in our 30s, you know, which is obviously going to be a different, you know, product than we made when we were 23 years old, you know, so.
Wow. No, I mean, that's absolutely amazing, man. I mean, like, that said, you know, and the fact that, you know, you're so proud of this record and it feels so new. I mean, kind of going back to, you know, when the band took a break and when, you know, around the time you left and everything, how did you feel back then? Like, kind of looking back now in this very positive space, like, did you ever feel like the band were kind of taken for granted? Did you ever feel like that?
Sure.
Or did it just feel that you needed time away? Like, how was that feeling looking back?
When I left, the band was more successful than ever in a touring capacity. You know, I left like right during the Lost in the Sound of Separation tour. My last show was in Milan. So I don't know that, I think I took it for granted. I don't think people did, because the band was super successful, you know. But I think that I felt like the music began to sound the same. And I had a lot of, you know, that's another conversation. I had a lot of reasons that I left, but, you know, on the artistic side, I think that we just needed the break, you know, in order for us to make something vital again. And not to say that Lost in the Sound and Disambiguation weren't good records, but, you know, I think that the strength of Underoath has always been, we put out these records that sound nothing like the one before, but it's still us somehow. You know, you go from Chasing Safety to Find the Great Line, and that's like, you know, chocolate and hot sauce. It's two completely different things, you know, but you're still somehow connected to the band, you know, and you still somehow feel like it's the same. It is the same band, you know, and we keep that integrity throughout. So, and I think that we began to lose that with Lost in the Sound of Separation. I think that we made great records, but they weren't, they didn't have that feeling that Define the Great Line had after we made Chasing Safety, you know. And I think it just took some time for us to do that, which was hard. You know, it was hard to watch them make a record without me, and it was hard to walk away from the whole thing and kind of start over in life. And then it was like we started touring, and it was again here with Rebirth a couple of years ago, and it was like, oh shit, like this is what we're supposed to do. You know, like this is who we are as people. And it's hard to believe that, you know, bands come and go, right? I mean, bands don't last forever. And it's hard to believe that, you know, we've known each other since high school and we are still the most comfortable with each other. And that's really a strange place. And I think it took us walking away and looking at that from afar to understand it, you know?
Yeah, definitely. No, so I mean, coming to that now and everything being so positive, and like you say, you know, you're that comfortable with each other, and you've got this, like you say, that word vital. Like, does everything feel vital again now? You know, with Erase Me and with you guys back together, and does everything feel like it should again now?
Yeah, I mean, it's the most excited we've been, because we've always had the traditional album rollout. You know what I mean? Like, nobody knows we've got a record. No one knows that people in the industry obviously do, but, you know, none of our fans know that you've been listening to this record all week that they've been begging for 7 years. You know what I mean? Like, they don't know that it exists. So it's such a cool, alive time for us, because we're literally announcing the record, showing the song with a video, and throwing a pre-order out in like 36 hours. All at one time. So that is a really exciting thing. You know what I mean? Like, that's something that, and our fans have been just begging for a record since we really did the first tour, you know? So this is a really cool thing to do, you know, where we're just really just going to give them everything at one time. Here you go. So that's a really alive feeling, but also I think that there's this large sense of accomplishment that we went and made a record that we all agree on and we all think is great. You know what I mean? Like, because we're all in such different walks of life and we all have such different tastes in music, you know, and such different tastes in things we believe in, and social standings and all of the above, you know, and it's also a really fucking strange time in our country. I don't know if I'm sure you're aware, you know, like it's a confusing fucking time, right? I'm sure you guys in England read the paper and they're like, oh my God, you know, so there's just a lot going on. And I think that we really believe that we poured ourselves into this piece of music and that it's going to help, ourselves cope with things and help other people cope with things. And, it's just a really cool time to believe in ourselves, because I don't think that a year ago, if you would have told me that we would have this conversation and that you would have thought that Erase Me was great, but it also sounded like Underoath, I don't think I would have believed you. You know, I think I would have been like, there's no fucking way. We're never going to get through this, you know, because it felt that way a lot, you know, in the beginning when we started having these conversations, you know, and even to the point, like Spencer and I would send in songs that, you know, to the other guys in the band, songs that are on the record now, and then be like, whoa, what are you guys doing? You know what I mean? Like, just being like, have you guys lost your minds? Are you guys drinking? Like, you know, like what's the deal? And a lot of those songs are on the record, and we were able to get to a place where, you know, we each dipped our toes into the deep end of the pool enough to where we really believe, we all began to believe in it, you know? So yeah, man, it's a really, really, really special, vital time right now. So yeah.
So that was Aaron. Absolutely amazing stuff. We're going to go straight back into it. Here's Spencer Chamberlain. Here we go. Yeah, so I mean, obviously it's a huge moment. You know, obviously you guys have come back together as the original, the classic lineup of the band, and then, you know, you put Erase Me down in secret. And I mean, what kind of motivated the decision to actually do Erase Me? Because obviously, you know, you did a lot of touring ahead of that, and Aaron was saying that you had a kind of pot of songs that you kind of picked the best of, and it made the whole process way less stressful and much more organic. So how was it for you? What was kind of your part of the decision to make the new record?
Well, I think, like, especially for me and Aaron, it was kind of like me and Aaron were the two that were still touring all the time. You know, like, we never really stopped. Even when Underoath stopped, I was doing Sleepwave and he was doing solo stuff. He was drumming for Paramore for a while. So, like, obviously me and Aaron wanted the band to make songs. It was more about making sure the relationship within the band, I think, was right before. I think it was more about the fact that we wanted to make sure that the relationship in the band was where it needed to be before we added extra stress, which would be, you know, trying to write songs and get into fights, and everyone's, you know, I don't know if you understand, like, how the writing process works, but for a lot of bands, it can be super stressful, and you're, you know, disagreeing and arguing and trying to make your point or get the right song to sound the way you want it to. And a lot of times that causes some heated arguments, you know? And I think that we didn't want to put any pressure on the band because it was so fragile when we finally got it back together, because it was never part of the plan. Like, it was definitely the last show was kind of like, all right, well, I'm never going to play with you guys again. You never want to play with me again. Have a good life kind of thing, you know? Yeah. So when we eventually mended the friendships and realized how much we do love each other and how important this band is to us, let alone the people in the world that have always supported Underoath, it was kind of a no-brainer to start touring. And you know, we were having that 10-year anniversary of Finding a Line. In the first practice, me and Aaron were like, dude, this is so stupid. Why aren't we doing this all the time? You know, and which led to the first writing sessions for the record were kind of in secret. It was me and Aaron writing songs together and kind of writing songs that we were scared to show the guys, or will they like it? Is it heavy enough for them? Like, it was kind of an interesting process, because the way it started was like, all right, we're going to write together. If they don't want to use it, me and Aaron will just start a new band. That was kind of the attitude that we had at the beginning, you know? And then when we started to tour more, we kind of were like, hey guys, you know, me and Aaron, you know, those dudes were going back to normal life. And me and Aaron, after the first tour, were like, no, within a week after the Rebirth tour in America, me and Aaron were writing. And then it wasn't until after the rebirth in Europe and the UK, to where I think we decided to make a record, and then we made the record right after the American Nightmare tour that we did, which was us and Bring Me the Horizon and Beartooth. We made the record, making it like right after that. But yeah, the first writing sessions were definitely like, I don't know, man. We don't know if the guys are going to be into writing. Like, will we make it through the process? Like, will we kill each other in the process? And we just did things a lot differently. You know, I wrote a few songs by myself that were actually going to be sleepwave songs. And me and Aaron wrote like 20 songs together. And then me, Aaron, and Tim and Chris wrote a bunch of songs together. And then the four of us in the studio wrote some songs together. So there was a bunch of songs written for the record.
Amazing, yeah, because as well on top of that, and it sounds like such a positive process. I mean, Aaron was telling me that actually only 4 of you actually physically record on the album, and then you'd send out ideas and songs you were getting down and tracks out to the other 2 guys, and they'd kind of send their ideas back, and it made for a much more kind of a much sort of more positive process. Take me more inside of that. How did that come about?
Well, you know, that's kind of how it's always been. There's been the main songwriters in the band, you know, me and Tim and Aaron and Chris with the electronic stuff, you know, like that's an important element of the band, whether he's writing technically songs or not, but like that was a huge part of, you know, writing process as always. So, and we just kind of, you know, when the band got back together, it was kind of like, you know, let's make it run more energy efficient, I guess. Like, let's stop. Like, if we're gonna do this and get it back together and do things the right way, why don't we do things the right way, like all the way through? Which means like we're not going to bring people to the studio that aren't songwriters and don't play on records to get in more fights, and you know, because we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Like, no, this is kind of like your roles in the band are equally as important as everyone else's, but we don't need 6 cooks in the kitchen, you know, like, let's just do what we always would do in the studio. But instead of you being there, walking around feeling uncomfortable because you don't write, you know, for the records. And I don't know, it's just like, we just made it to where it made sense. You know, like, I feel like there's nothing different other than we just said how it was and did it how it was. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, definitely does.
I don't want to come out sounding like an asshole, but those guys, their roles are equally important as anyone else, which is why we're a band, not a solo project. But, you know, when it comes to songwriting, it's always been the 3 or 4 of us. So we just did it that way and made the record that way so it could be just a lot easier on everybody, I feel like.
Definitely, yeah, no, that makes a whole lot of sense. Because, I mean, as well, you know, obviously, you know, you mentioned Sleepwave before, and you brought a couple of songs that were kind of intended for that band. And, I mean, how was your time away from Underoath in that period? Obviously, because, you know, you did a lot of stuff with Sleepwave, and a lot of really, really cool stuff. I mean, did you ever miss Underoath at that point? Because, obviously, you stayed in the band longer than Aaron. I mean, like, from that point. And what did you miss it? Did you kind of yearn for it? Or how was it for you?
Absolutely. I missed Underoath while I was doing Sleepwave for sure. You know, I wasn't ready for Underoath to stop when it stopped. And I think everything happens for a reason. I feel like it had to happen, or otherwise we wouldn't be in the position we're in now, which is a healthy, happy band. Like, starting at 17, 18 years old and getting in a van, and then waking up and you're 28 years old and 10 years have passed and you've all grown into different people, it causes a lot of friction, a lot of tension. And a band starts off as a unit and becomes a bunch of individuals. And I don't think you're taught how to deal with that. And a lot of bands implode. And we were definitely one of them. Like, we had to burn down the building and rebuild it on the same foundation. You know what I mean? We had to do that in order to make it work right. Cause it was built all wrong, you know? So in that time of the band being broken up, being angry and sad or depressed, or, you know, I was using a lot of drugs and things were dark, and I definitely missed those guys and compared everything to how I lived with them and how we would do things. And I think the guys that, you know, I hired for Sleepwave felt like they were being compared, you know, all the time, and it wasn't very fun touring. And, you know, a lot of times it was tough. Like, we we hit every roadblock there was to hit for a band. And I definitely missed, Aaron's been my best friend since I was like 17 or 18 years old, and all the guys, it was a lot different. And I think you realize what you had when it's gone, one of those cheesy moments or whatever. But yeah, it was a huge component to being like, man, like we had it so good and we worked so hard. Like it's so stupid to walk away from it, So that definitely played a role for me for sure.
Yeah.
But it was a great learning experience. I think I wouldn't be the same person I am today if I wouldn't have gone through all that. Like if I wouldn't have gone through that period of time to get me to the point where I am now, which is haven't used any drugs in a long time, like over a year, and been healthy and happy and mentally healthy and made a record about going through all those times. But when I actually tracked the record, I was clean of all the drug use. I mean, obviously I still drink, but that's a whole, whatever. But it was definitely made for a really great recording process, because I was singing about the stuff that I personally lived through and had just recently gotten away from, and singing about it with a clear head in the vocal booth, going like, well, fuck, man, I don't ever want to be back there again. Like it was really therapeutic. So I think all this stuff that happens had to happen the way it did. Otherwise there wouldn't be an Erase Me. It wouldn't sound the way it sounds. The band probably, if we wouldn't have broken up in 2013, would probably have broken up a few years later, and would never have made this record and wouldn't have a long, second run at this. Like we're looking at like another decade plus, like we did the first time. Like we're planning that. We're looking at our future of like, okay, how do we plan the next 10 years to be better than the first 10 years, and those conversations would have never happened if the fallout didn't happen in the first place.
Definitely, yeah, because as well, I mean, you guys are so loved by so many bands as well, and especially with this album coming out, I'm just, I can't wait to see, along with fans, just fans in bands who love you guys, all losing their minds about it. And I mean, did you ever feel the pull of that and that influence on so many bands coming through, or like especially before you guys stopped for the time being? Did you ever feel that, or was it something that you just never really thought about or felt?
As far as influencing others, I don't think you can really think about that. And I know it sounds like, oh, there's no way they don't think about that, like from the outside. But when you're in it, when you're actually making a record, like even when I watch like some of the footage from making the record, it's still surreal to me. I'm like, oh man, I can't believe we did that. And I listen to the record, I'm like, I can't believe we made that and got through it healthy and happy without even fighting. Like this is the healthiest the band's ever made a record. It's the first time we've ever worked together and not fought each other through the whole process. Like it's my way or I'm not putting this song on the record. Like that was a lot of our every record before, and every record we have ever put out, I've hated at least one song on the record.
Wow.
Until this record. And for all of us, this is the first record that we love every song because we worked together. And before we used to fight through everything and, oh, this guy gets his song and this guy got his song here, and this guy hates his song and that guy hates that one. Like it's never been the way it is now, to where it's like a healthy bunch of adults working together. Like it only took 13 years, but I think as far as thinking about what influence you have on other people doesn't even have time to enter your brain while you're there, because while it's happening, the four of us are just like full force going and excited and working super hard and trying to make every part better than what we're hearing out of the speakers. Like, how can we make this better? Or is that it? Is that the melody? Like, how many more melodies do I need to sing? Or is it the first one that it came out of my mouth because that was natural? Like, in vibing on all that the whole time, and you don't even think about it. And then when we were done with it, and I would listen back to the first time straight through with like rough mixes before we was even mixed, I was like, holy shit, like what did we do? Like we just made this, and it sounds like Underoath, but at the same time it doesn't sound anything like Underoath. The only thing you can tell Tim's playing guitar and it's my voice and Aaron's drumming, you know what I mean? But like yeah. It doesn't really sound like an Underoath record. I think we reinvented ourselves without trying. I think we were just really honest with ourselves. I think we're like, look, I'm not who I was in 2006, and you probably aren't either. whoever's reading this or you who's doing this interview, you're not the same guys you were in 2006. So don't expect our band to put the same sounding record out. That would be safe for you and you wouldn't get upset. But safe is never good. Like, I know this record's going to piss people off. And I know some people are like, fuck Underoath, I'm never listening to them again. They bunch of pussies or whatever because it's not as heavy as they want it to be. Or a bunch of people that used to hate our band might like it. And I don't think we thought about any of those things. I think we thought about how can we make the best record, be happy and healthy, and have this band, like, want to keep doing this, because we definitely broke up already. You know what I mean? And I felt like the way to do that was to just be ourselves and to let each other be ourselves and not keep holding that. It's not Underoath enough. Like, that whole thing, just, we squashed that before we even started. That was the only rule we had when we made the record. The only rule was that phrase, "it's not Underoath enough," doesn't exist anymore, because that's probably what killed the band in the first place. Because we couldn't grow, and we couldn't grow like as people, and we couldn't grow as musicians, because we lived in this Underoath shell of what people wanted us to be, what they wanted us to believe in, what they wanted us to say, what they wanted us to look like. It was just like, man, that sucks, and that's no way to live. And if that makes everyone mad and makes them want to hate my band and think that I'm a dick, then that's fine. But I'm happier and healthier than I've ever been in my entire life, and that's because we let all that shit go. You know, like we forgave each other and forgave ourselves and made a great record, in my opinion. I think it's the first record that I really feel 100% proud of every song on it. And I can speak for my friends in the band and they all think the same thing. And yeah, it took time. You know, we're humans too. We had to learn how to grow up as well. And I think we did during that breakup and reuniting and learning. I love that we toured first before making a record and just putting it out. Like, oh, we're back. Surprise, we have a record. Like, getting on the road together and being in a bus together again and spending 24 hours a day together again. And like, as humans, but not as like, oh, you're supposed to be just like you were, like in that band like 10 years ago. Why do you listen to this music now? Or why do you eat that food now? Or why don't you eat this food now? And why don't you believe in this anymore? And you do that. And like, that's just, it's so hard to navigate, man. And no one gives you a rule book on how to make your band work. Just like I don't think there's really rule books for marriage or relationships. It's like, dude, everybody's different and it's really hard. I think the only way to be is just to be honest and to be yourself and, you know, be good to people. And we've kind of figured that out. It just took us a really long time.
Amazing, man. There's something that Aaron told me yesterday that was, you know, very, very striking, you know, is that he was saying that a lot of the things he pulled in with the lyrics is that, you know, he's had struggles with his faith before and that sort of thing, and that must be extremely hard to go through, and we had a chat about that. I mean, was that the same for you at all, or was that kind of something that Aaron was going through personally?
No, I think that's where a lot of the writing that me and him did at the beginning was, a lot of it we were writing about some of the other guys, and at first, I think we were just really, we had both been so hurt by that, any sort of religious side of anything. Were the worst years of my life were when it was a Christian band and we were trying to be that, and the way that people judge you and look at you. And it's like the most opposite thing of what you would think it's supposed to be. It's like, in my opinion, you know, and I got caught up about this the other day. It was like, well, you were the guys that made it safe for kids that weren't allowed to bring home music like that. Like, how can you turn your back on that? And I said, well, if that was my role 10 years ago was to bring this music and this kind of heavy stuff into households that couldn't have had it before because it wasn't Christian or this or that or the other. It's like, but I bared a burden that that's what basically drove me to drug use and depression and all sorts of things, because it's so hard, like being ridiculed and judged every single day, and like, can't say this, can't do that, don't let people see you do this, don't let people do that. And like, you're just a human, man. Like, you're just trying to live and try to be the best version of you, and it's never good enough. And I think that's the easy decision for me to be like, I don't believe in any of this, and I don't want a part in it, and I'm not turning my back on it, and I don't wish any ill towards people that call themselves Christians or have religion in their life. I think it's great for some people. For me, it almost killed me, and it was awful. And it drove the band apart and made us hate each other. And it was sad in seeing how that side of the world works. To me, it was kind of gross, and I didn't like it. And I never felt comfortable. I never felt loved in those scenarios. I felt like it was always like you aren't good enough, and people are going to remind you of that every day. And I just hated that. And I wanted to be myself and wanted to love people and be happy. And that's not the case. So yeah, the struggle with faith has definitely happened for, I would say, everyone in the band. I'm not going to speak for everyone else, but definitely I'm very open about it. And I know Aaron's starting to be more open about it, but yeah, I mean, there's so many things. We've been burned by that so much. I think that was when we decided to not be a Christian band anymore in like 2009. That was great, but I think there was just so much damage done. It was hard to get back on our feet, you know? And I think that came with, I don't know, just like letting go of all that, you know? And I don't mean that in a way of turning your back on it. I just meant like, just let that stuff go. What happened. What's in the past. Like, what does the future look like? Does it look bright? Am I healthy? Am I happy? And then that's when I started to like make certain changes in my life. And I started to, you know, when the band got back together, I was using drugs less, but I was still using hard drugs pretty regularly. But I was really healthy. Like, it was weird. I was like going to the gym and eating right for years, but still using hard drugs and probably drinking too much. And then I slowly started to like just autocorrect things in my life that weren't making sense until I just kind of cut all the negative things. I felt like I had a chain, you know, I was like trying to fly, but there's like a weight around my ankle and I just had to clip it. And the last thing I clipped was all the drug use. And just, you know, to me, I basically reprogrammed my whole life to be, like a positive, more healthy thing, because all that stuff led up to like a big dead end for me. And it kind of started with, I think, which sounds crazy from the outside, but I think a lot of the whole Christian band thing is what drove me into the holes that I was in. It was just such a negative place for me personally. Just wasn't a healthy lifestyle for me. Religion was not a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, definitely, man. I'm very sorry to hear it. I mean, but it's incredible, sort of, you know, the way you've come out of it. And I mean, going forward, then, you know, with
that's the thing is, I think that could be read wrong in an interview, and I don't care. You're right that I said that too, because a lot of people are like, oh, you know, he's lost. I'll pray for him. It's like I'm not like that. I'm in the best place I've ever been in my life, and I don't hold any grudges. I'm like super happy, and I try to be as good as I can to people. And I don't have any, like, you know, hard feelings for anyone in that industry or that side of the world. Like, I don't care. Like, I mean, if being a Christian makes you happy and you feel like it's good for you and it's healthy for you, good, go for it. Is it for me? No. Do I believe in the things that they say or preach? No. I've lived too much and seen too much, and I feel differently. And that should be okay. Just like if you told me you're a Muslim or a Buddhist or an atheist, it's fine. Dude, you're not me, I'm not you. Like, if you feel like you're happy and things are going well in your life, then that's good. Do what you're doing that keeps you on that path. I don't think we should all be sitting here, you know, judging each other on what they do and what they don't do, what you do, you know, like, you know, we're all different. So, you know, whatever. I feel like that's the same thing as so many other things that are so much more important than to worry about what other people believe in, you know?
Yeah, definitely, man. No, I totally agree. I mean, going forward then, you know, into we're at the start of the year, going forward into 2018 with a Raise Me, you know, under the belt. Does it feel like those shackles are gone now then, based on everything you've said to me? You know, does it just, everything just feels so positive with it, and it's just like, this feels like a genuine rebirth of the band?
I believe so. I feel like I just can't wait for everyone to hear it. You know, I know we've got so many amazing fans out there that have stood by our side through thick and thin, you know, through the start of the band, through the first time we kind of broke up on Warped Tour, and, and then getting back together, and then Aaron leaving, and then us breaking up, and then all of us coming back. You know, like, our fans deserve a medal of honor because they're so loyal. You know, like, but yeah, I applaud that. You know, is it embarrassing that the world gets to watch you go through all the growing pains and, like, oh man, that's some pretty embarrassing shit in our past and what we've done and how we treated each other or ourselves. It's like, it's very public, but that's part of, I guess that's part of the job and the drawback or whatever. But I'm very thankful that they're still there waiting and listening, and hopefully they'll give this record a chance, even though it's not the Underoath they're super familiar with or it doesn't feel safe. But I think that's a good thing. I think if you let it set in, that if we made a safe record, you'd probably forget about it in a month. This record, I think, is gonna. There's songs on there that are gonna. You know, I just feel like it's songs never disappear. Moments can have their time, but songs can last forever. To me, you know, there's still songs I listen to that came out before I was even born. You know. So, yeah, I'm just excited for everyone to hear it, and I know there'll be some backlash, and I know there'll be haters, but I think if you don't piss people off, you're not stirring the pot. Like, you're not doing something right. Like, you know, I think if everyone likes your record, then then you made it too safe of a record. I feel like.
So, yes, so much to get through. Tamsin, you're a big Underoath girl. Do you want to start this off?
I am so happy about this. I got a text from my boyfriend when they dropped the new song, and he was just like, oh my God, have you heard it? And I was like, no, because obviously it was a surprise. So I was just like, didn't even know this was coming.
Yeah.
What? And yeah, I just listened to it and I was just, oh my God, it rips. It's so good.
Yeah.
I was just like in my room, just having a little solo mosh pit.
Bedroom mosh.
A little bedroom mosh. I'm so excited for that album. Like, so excited. I pretty much grew up with Underoath. I still have their albums on CD, if you guys remember what those are.
The good old days.
Yeah.
And they just pretty much soundtrack a good 3-year period of my life, and it's really kind of interesting to hear both interviews and kind of hear, you know, the difference between them as a band 5 years ago compared to now. Like, they've definitely grown up, they've definitely matured. You know, Spencer's off drugs, they've sobered up, they've kind of, you know, Aaron went off and did his own projects, he joined with Paramore, and everyone kind of found their creative outlets elsewhere. And the one thing I really love that Aaron said, he was like, missing Underoath is like missing your mum's roast dinner.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can really relate to that.
Yeah. You can have other ones.
Like, that's one metaphor where I was like, yeah, I feel
it's
that.
like, you can
I know that feeling.
The chest,
you can go to pubs and get them and you
Nothing
can.
compares to your mum's roast potatoes.
Or you go to a Toby Carvery and it's all there, but it's you need to go back to the original.
Yeah.
You need to know where you came from.
Yeah, and there's, you know, I generally really like that, and they all clearly missed what they had with Underoath, but there was just so much angst and drama, and I think they were all individually fighting a lot of inner demons, and as they quite heavily touched upon the whole religious side of the band as well, and kind of just trying to get away from that and not really feeling themselves, because they were feeling like they had to be portrayed as this big religious metalcore band when they hadn't been believing the things that they used to believe for years and years and years, and they were just kind of putting on this false persona just to try and please the religious fans out there.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy they're back, and I really feel like they definitely have a new sort of breath of life in the band, and just the way they've recorded the album differently, and they've done everything on their terms. I'm stoked to hear how it all comes out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I really believed both of them as well when when they say this is the happiest we've genuinely ever been. You know, we've had to make these changes that aren't easy, but we've done them and it's worked out so much better. And I don't know, there was just so much honesty from both of these chats, and I believe both of them that, you know, it is a thing, like you say, that you have to kind of look at certain things that aren't necessarily easy to look at, to be able to get through them and to be able to keep things like the band alive, or bring it back to life in this case. And I thought that was quite amazing to hear, actually. I mean, Jack, did you find bits of the interviews quite shocking, surprising?
Yeah. I mean, like, it's one thing to, like, renounce your faith, but it's another to tell a journalist about how heavily they've renounced it, and also write an entire album, because, like, you can tell this album that's what it's all about. Like,
oh yeah,
even from the first cut, and like from the art, and from like everything else which is around it, that it's them like just going, yeah, we're done with it. And I find it's shocking and it's a hard one to get by, because like Spence was saying, they were the worst years of his life, like when he was trying to combine faith with the music.
Yeah, I know. Insane.
Which, like, when you're thinking of that's when you've got like drink and drugs mixed in there, that the worst thing you've dealt with is like your beliefs and what you've tried to stick with. And I also feel as though like the Christian metalcore kind of community is a tough one to bridge, because it was very of its time, like in 2007, 2008, and you've got like Devil Wears Prada and like August Burns Red to some degree, and all these bands who like they were religious, but people expected them to be like pure, like every song is about the faith. So it must have been even harder, like having people coming to you to try and prize out some of your like feelings and emotions about this when you just hate it.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing I found, like it wasn't shocking, but it was interesting to think on like a bigger scale. It's when Aaron was talking about that, you know, because he drummed for Paramore, you know, like we all have, you know. And he's saying these were like bucket list things. Like they did 202s. Like, when has metalcore ever got you to 202s? But it was when he said, I need to get back to what I was supposed to be doing, and that all the things he's been doing with the Almost as well, and like which were away from the thing which like sparked the fire in him, like with that music. And it's really interesting to see it come in full circle. That it's like, you know, people, it's the same with bands getting back together as well. Like, people say that, oh yeah, this is the end of everything, but then like feelings change, like opinions on things change, and that's fine. Like, I feel as though this is like a prime example of the fact that like Underoath are back and making some of the hardest, like most honest music they've made in a long time. Yeah, shows that like anything can happen. Like, who would have thought that they'd be doing, like, let alone last year when they played Chasing Safety and Just Find the Great Line, who thought they were going to be doing that when the last time they played the UK was like 2011 on, and even then you could tell how jaded and done with it they were. Yeah. You thought you're never going to see it again, but here we are, start talking about it.
And mate, I know, it's incredible. It's insane when you like you say, when you kind of just take it and stand back for a minute and look back at it. I mean, you know, and that's the thing. I mean, Erase Me it's one of the albums of the year so far, and you know, it looks set that it'll probably stay that way. I mean, this is such an expansive. It's like both of them said, it's a new Underoath. Like, the thing is, they could never come back and just do a Define the Great Line or a Chasing Safety Part 2, because it would just be disingenuous. Like, they've done something that feels new, but it also does still feel like Underoath. They've hit that bridge. It's amazing.
It's that they said that it's the first record where they like every song as well. Yeah, like, it's really fascinating.
It is. I mean, and this album is so lyrically intense as well. You know, like we've covered, like the guys tell us, like we've covered, like it really, really is. There's a song at the end of this album called "I Gave Up," it might be my song of the year so far. It's just absolutely, like, I don't know, it's just one of those songs where the lyrics are completely bruising, you know, and I feel that this is just the absolute pinnacle of, you know, what is a genuine rebirth, you know, for one of the most important heavy bands of the past 10 years. So, yeah, Tamsin, excited for Reading?
Yeah. Oh my god. You just suddenly reminded me that they were playing. I was thinking about this the other day when I heard the new song, and I was like, oh my god, they're playing the lock-up stage at Reading, which is like, if you've not been to Reading before, like, it's not a huge stage, like it's spacious, but for Underoath, it's going to be running on heads.
Neil's going to come up.
Yeah, literally, probably me and Jack just running around.
I'll walk on heads. Yeah.
Levitating, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be ridiculous, and I'm probably going to come out quite bruised.
Yeah, absolutely. Return the Kings. Amazing stuff. So shout out to Underoath. You guys are going to lose your minds when you hear this album. Huge shout out to Aaron and Spencer. And yeah, we cannot wait for the summer. It's going to be amazing. So, new issue. So, we launched last week when Patty met Austin. Seeing you guys out there, as I said at the beginning of the show, just losing your minds over this issue. Absolutely loving it. Getting your Patty bundles and your Austin bundles. Absolutely amazing. So, head to shop.rocksound.tv now to get to know everything about the leading lights of a new generation of bands. So, they have been selling very, very fast. You guys out there have gone mental for them. The Austin Night bundle is gone. The Patty Walters bundle is gone. So, we do still have the Patty and Austin bundle in stock. So, if you want to check that out, absolutely incredible. It's got the Patty and Austin magazine cover, hand-signed poster print, vinyl stickers, pin badge pack, and, of course, an exclusive Patty and Austin tote bag as well. Free worldwide shipping. Absolutely amazing. So, get on that before it sells out. The individual magazine is also still available at shop.rocksound.tv. So, check it all out. Also includes 32 amazing stickers, studio exclusive reveal friends, stuff on Wage War, Grayscale, loads and loads of stuff going on. So shop.rocksound.tv. Spotify playlist as well, an updated Rock Sound chart. We've got Not Warriors by Waterparks and Hey Rachel by As It Is at the top. Absolutely amazing. Scuzz TV show, new episode on daily on Scuzz as well. All super exciting, amazing stuff. Shop.rocksound.tv. Jack.
Hiya. So yeah, we've set another question out online to see what you lot are saying, and I asked, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen at a gig? And let's just say there's responses were mixed from sublime to ridiculous to a bit mental, like genuinely mental.
There were some ridiculous answers.
I mean, like when I think of the craze, one of the craziest things I've seen at a gig was, I tell this story all the time because it's so funny. It was Limp Bizkit at Leeds Fest 2010 when it was the first time I seen them, and it was like, yeah, sick. And when they were playing break stuff, the pit opened quite wide near where I was, and a bloke jumped into the middle and then just dropped his kegs and just stood there, just like butt naked, going way, like wafting, and then like everyone just went way, go on lad, and then but he timed it so badly that like when the beat came back in and the pit went,
the wall of death closed in on his balls.
Well, I mean, like he went oh and tried to go up and do it. So like he was part bent down, and then I just saw him like snap, and I didn't see him again.
Bloody hell!
Like, he was just like obliterated into dust.
Wow. I saw Jason Butler at Let Live's first ever UK headline show at the Old Blue Last. One of my favourite memories is just I took two mates who'd never heard of Let Live to see them because obviously they were very small at that point. And I just remember at the opening song, they opened with the first track from Fake History. Jason jumped up onto the lighting rig, just hung upside down like some like massive spider, and then flew himself back up and punched the lights, and they just smashed, like literally the lights just went. Normally they'll just, they'll get knocked or whatever. They just completely went, just glass, everything. I just remember looking over at my mates who were being, progressively separated into the pit, and just looking like a mix of both horror and just amazement. It's just one of my favourite things. Tamsin?
I'm trying to think. I've been to so many gigs. Like, I'm trying to think of I don't think I've witnessed anything like weird. Like some of the answers you lot have given us are just like genuinely just weird. I saw like similar to your thing. I went to see Senses Fail and Marmozets at Unit in Southampton, R.I.P. And literally a song in, all the lights blew. Like no one did anything, but just all the lights blew. So Senses Fail had to play their entire set with just an old lamp, and it wasn't like a small bedside lamp. Basically the venue staff were just running around trying to find any form of light possible, because it's a really small dark venue, and it was like one that you'd find in like your nan's living room or something, with like tasseled lampshade.
Yeah,
So they just kind of put that by the drum kit and just turned it on, and that was all the light that they could find. So we just kind of had to like really squint to see Senses Fail performing on stage, and it was just like. Like fair play to them, they just kind of went with that. They came in the crowd a lot.
They did the set.
Yeah, they did the set, and they were just like, "So this is weird," but yeah, it was just a really bizarre moment. It was like no one really knew what was going on, but like I can't think of anything stand out really. Like there's no nakedness that I can recall.
I mean, it's a
clearly
relief.
I haven't been going to the right gigs.
I mean, no, you have been going to the right gigs. Like, stay away, mental. Well, I mean, like, we've got 5 of the best here. I'm going to do it, like, from 5 down to 1, because 1 is just so funny.
Yeah.
Lynn Gunn is fun. She saw an old couple slow dance at a Motionless in White show, which is so sick. I mean, like, goals. Our old intern came back to us, and he said that he saw Norma Jean about 4 years ago, and people brought in jugs of milk, started throwing them at each other, so the pit was just a slippery mess.
So, with most venues, you get searched on your way in, and I know. Particularly in London, if you have a lot of liquid on you, like if you have a water bottle.
I once got an onion taken off me.
I had a whole bag of oranges taken off me once. That was before I went to see Let Live, and I was like, I don't really know what you think I'm going to do with these oranges, but sure.
I mean, like, it might be different in Europe, like...
Yeah, but like, I just don't understand how people can walk in with 2 jugs of milk. And security be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, let us know how that came to be.
Gloom Carleen said she saw Santa in the middle of the circle pit, but that's nothing compared to Ella is not emo, who saw Jedward in the middle of the pit, neck deep, which I guess Jedward are very much like, it's if you're British, you know, but like,
if you've not heard of Jedward, just Google Jedward, and then imagine them in a pit at
couple. What a couple of legends! So sick. Blink-182 wrote a song which was inspired by one of theirs. So
what?
Yeah, all the small things. Blink-182 got inspiration from Jedward for that.
Oh yeah.
Oh right, yeah.
I thought you meant on like California or like on the.
No, I'm like what? Blink-182 wrote a song about Jedward. What?
Yeah.
No, I was making a funny. But then, shout out Guilty Melody, who sent us a video of her playing harmonica on stage with Patty Walters.
Yeah.
And As It Is show. And it's incredible. Like, the patience of Patty putting up with you, like, just blowing into this harmonica. On, like, which is... Yeah, it's just incredible. Like, anyone who go on our Twitter, like, search for the question and just watch it. It's stunning. Like, shout out Guilty Melody, you are a legend.
Amazing stuff. So that brings us to our third and final interview with Beau Bokan, Mr. Beau Bokan of Blessthefall. And oh man, again, this was so great. Like, I mean, Beau is an absolutely lovely man. He's really nice guy. So we had a really kind of cool general chat anyway, but the fact that he was so open and so honest about everything to do with his band and what's been going on with him, with all that going into the mix, it just became this absolutely amazing chat. So to be able to kind of learn about, obviously, new album Hard Feelings is coming, and I mean, they've had this switch over. They've been this core band for Fearless Records, and this sudden switch over to Rise Records to release this album, and to be able to kind of learn the backstory of that and how, they almost broke up and they felt they were taken for granted, and all of that's been poured into this brilliant album, which is such a fascinating story. So we're going to let Beau do the talking. Here we go. Beau Bokan of Blessthefall talking all things Hard Feelings, the story of Blessthefall's most recent years. So I guess main thing first, new albums on Rise Records. You've just announced that you've signed to them, and you've been a real benchmark for Fearless, over the years, and you've been a real core band for that label. So why the change now to Rise? What was behind that with the new album?
Oh man, it was there were a lot of different things that were in play with that. We've been a band almost 9 years. This is our 6th record, and one of the things was not to talk, poorly about Fearless and what's going on there. I think that they might have, I don't know. I feel like they sort of dropped the ball with our last album. It went very under the radar, which I felt was a great record. And we sort of took a hit from that. And our band kind of just, our band we go up and down. You know what I mean? We have one record and everything goes great. Next record, it kind of slumps a little bit. And that's sort of been us, in a nutshell. We just sort of powered through it. But our last album really we kind of got left in the dark a bit. And I think they were focusing more on other bands that were, big on YouTube or some shit. So, so we kind of got just sort of, left in the dark, I guess is the word I'd say. So, you know what, you said, it's fine. Let's part ways. And, someone like Rise, who hit us up and were very, very excited that we were free agents, I guess you could say. And, just to find someone excited about your music, about your band, and there were a few other labels as well, but they were the most excited and the most, they're very grassroots, even though they have some massive bands, right? They have Paris and At the Drive-In, and I could go on and on and on. But they are very grassroots still, and they have a small core, you know what I mean? It's not like they have 25 people at their label and I have to call and talk to 3 people to get to somebody that I want to talk to. It's I call my dude at the label and he answers the phone and he's there, and, we're talking about ideas and we're going back and forth. So, and also this, I will say this, I'm a huge Lakers fan.
Yeah.
Basketball. So I actually hit them up and I was like, hey man, I want to drive to Portland to watch this. The Lakers are playing in Portland, and maybe we can hang out and get a coffee, and they called me back to you know what, we'll get the tickets, we'll get dinner, come on down, we'll make it a label meeting.
Man.
This is before we had signed. So I was like, all right, man, if you didn't have me sold before, I'm sold now. So, yeah. So, you know what? They just, they treated us like we were a commodity, and it felt good. And I think they have a lot of faith in us and what we can do. And they've been watching us over the years, and it's a fresh start. So here we go. That's
awesome, man. No, that's really, really cool to hear. And I mean, kind of based on what you said then, with the jump from Hollow Bodies to Those Left Behind then, was it a bit disappointing with the latter record then? Did you feel that did you feel that maybe, after the success of Hollow Bodies, did you feel that because you were so proud of To Those Left Behind, did you feel you were a bit left in the dark then, like you said? And did it feel like you were a bit sort of let down on that record?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly how it felt. I felt like To Those Left Behind was a great record. I think that it was a great follow-up to Hollow Bodies. And, there's a lot of awesome songs on there. It's pretty heavy. It's funny because kids always want us to sound heavy. And I'm like, those are some of the heaviest fucking songs we've ever written, on that album. So, and that was that. And you can't really dwell on it. For us as a band, we kind of, you pack it away. And the hard part is that we're not DJs where we can just write a song in a fucking hotel room and make $1 million. It's we're literally this is months and months and months and months of writing, you know what I mean? And some people don't realize that you can put out a song and someone can just sort of dismiss it. And you're like, fuck, man, I worked so hard on that. So that's how it felt with that album, is we busted our ass. I was going back and forth from Michigan to LA to write. And, I felt like it was a great record, and it was very disappointing, but I think you have to go through that as a band. I think that it's making us stronger as a band when we saw, hey, let's overcome this thing that, that seems like any other band would just kind of maybe call it, hey man, that's our 5th record. We did great. Let's just fucking forget it.
Yeah, because was that never an option then? It was never going to be you were never going to be we're going to be defeated by this. It was always no, we're going to push through. We're going to push through these ups and downs, and like you say, kind of come out the other end to create something that you're even more proud of.
Yeah, you know what? I would be lying if I said that we were all very overly optimistic, because we're I think like anyone else, the reality of it was, hey man, we're all getting older. The scene is changing. The climate of music is changing, and I think there was an option of fuck man, maybe this is it. Like, maybe this is the end of the fucking road. You know, we've hit a wall, you know, whatever. But, you know, I think after we all sort of collected ourselves, and then, you know, like I said, Rise was very, very, very excited about signing us, and that breathed, some fresh air into us, you know, sort of a breath of life. And we went, all right, you know what, let's get back in the fucking on the horse and let's do this thing. And so that's when, you know what I mean, that's when things sort of turned around, where we all went, all right, let's give it one more chance, guys. Like, let's do this. And, you know, I'm glad we did, because, you know, all that emotion and all that, you know, determination went into this record, and you can hear it from front to back.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. Because I mean, like on songs like, you know, I'm Over Being Underrated, you know, Feeling Low, songs like that. Like, were you channeling all of those feelings then into the record? I mean, I guess right down to its title, you know. I mean, was it a very cathartic experience in that sense?
Oh yeah, man, it was. And like I said, we were at the point where we were like, do we keep rolling? You know, do we keep doing this? Like, we could all just go get real, like, good jobs somewhere, and, you know, I don't have to, like, leave my fucking family for months at a time, you know, things like that. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so much emotion in this record. I think it's one of my favorite records as far as lyrics as well. Like, I feel like I really, you know, channel those feelings of being fucking feeling like no one gave a fuck about us anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And feeling like, you know, our label doesn't give a fuck about us. You know, the scene doesn't give a fuck about us anymore. You know, all these bands are sort of just coming through and getting big, and, you know, everyone's jumping on the hot new thing. And so all of that was channeled into the record, and you know, just having to leave my family here's a little cool, like, anecdote.
Yeah.
We went to Arizona to do the album, and it was about a month long. We were in Arizona. We rented a big old Airbnb house, and, you know, our producer, Tyler Smith, he came in, and, you know, so it was a month in Arizona, and then we were going to Europe for 7 weeks. So that was all time away from the family. And as I'm writing, I'm thinking, like, holy fuck, I'm going to be away from my daughter and my wife for 7 weeks. Like, I've never been gone that long. And so there was, you know, that all went into it, you know, just that sort of shitty, like, dark place of, like, fuck, man, like, am I doing the right thing? And, you know, this and that. So yeah, that all goes into it. And I'm glad that you actually pointed those songs out, you know, specifically. And,
oh, amazing.
Because yeah, those are very, 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 like, close songs, very personal songs. I mean, the whole record is really, but yeah, I like that you pointed those two out specifically. That's cool.
Oh, amazing! No, super cool. Yeah, no. Well, I mean, it's great to hear that, you know, it was able to be channeled into that. And I mean, in that sense, well, you know, talking of the ups and downs of the industry as well, and, you know, like you say, you mentioned something interesting about, you know, like producers and that sort of thing, being able to just whack a song together in a hotel room, that sort of thing. Has it been difficult and almost a bit depressing in a way to see, you know, people like that come through, and then just like with one song, you know, they're just sort of making millions of dollars, whereas, you know, maybe not a lot of, I know this is only an opinion, but, you know, maybe not a lot of talent has gone into that. You know, when you guys are slaving away and, you know, you're putting your all into these albums, has that been quite difficult to watch and see the industry kind of change into?
Yeah, you know, I don't want to be the old jaded dude, but, you know, it is hard to see. But at the same time, I know that there's going to be a backlash to all the, like, overly, you know, regurgitated same EDM song, the, like, Chainsmokers song that you hear, you know, like, everyone else wants to sound like that. And it's just like, there's going to be a backlash of that. And part of it gives me some hope that it's like, you know, well, you know, it's going to go the other way. Rock and roll is going to come back. Like, it just has to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I also see, like, if these guys can make it, we can, you know. So I'm like, man, you know, I don't want to take anything away from those people, because I have friends who are successful DJs and stuff like that. So I don't want to, like, bash on them, but I just, you know, it's frustrating sometimes when I'm like, man, you could just write a fucking hit song, you know, right then and there, and, like, in a few hours, and, like, be done with it. And, like, and there's no overhead, right? There's no, like, you don't have to go to some studio and get drummers and this and that. So, yeah, it is a little frustrating at times, but I understand that's, you know, that's where we are now. And, I think rock and roll is going to make a big comeback, and I hope that we're sort of at the forefront of it.
Yeah, definitely. 'Cause, I mean, in that sense, like with Hard Feelings, I mean, is this a way of kind of coming out on top of all that? I mean, like, obviously, you know, so there's always going to be a lot of work to be done, but like, you know, do you feel that kind of what you've just said? Do you feel that it's a way of fighting back against that, basically, and with something that's real, basically, you know, something that's truly real that you put your all into? Do you think that's what this album is?
Yeah, definitely. I love the way you put that, because I do truly feel like things are changing. You know, the music scene is right in this weird moment where everything's sort of in limbo, and it's like, okay, what's next? And I feel like all the bands, you know, I watched like a lot of bands in our scene sort of get big and everything else, and like I really feel like, you know what, guys, it's our fucking turn now. Like we put in the work. We're the fucking veterans here. We wrote like an amazing album, and what I feel like is an important album for the scene and for rock in general. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's awesome. I mean, as well, in that sense, you know, obviously we've because I spoke to Kevin Lyman a few months ago when it was announced about the cross country Warped Tour ending, and he was saying, you know, that he felt that at times, you know, the tour could be quite taken for granted and that sort of thing. You know, do you feel then that that's kind of been the case with you guys in some respects? That, you know, like you say, you know, like you're so proud of this album now, and like you say, it's your time now to really push through with this album, because does it feel like, because like kind of like what you've said, does it feel like you have been taken for granted somewhat?
Yeah, you can definitely say that. You know, I think that there's a lot of bands in our scene, a lot of bands that we tour with that might be bigger than us, that always tell us like, yo man, you were my first show, or like your record was the first metalcore or screamo, whatever they want to call it, album that I ever listened to. And so I see us as, you know, we've been pioneers in a sense, and we've been around for so long. Not trying to sound like, I'm not trying to sound like Liam Gallagher here, but I don't want to be the Liam Gallagher of metalcore, but if I have to be, I guess I will. But we've been around for, you know, over 10 years, really. Like since, you know, I joined the band in 2008, and the band was around since 2005, 2006. So, you know, we see us inspiring in a lot of bands, and that made it big, and, you know, made it bigger than us, you could say. So I'm like, you know what, it's a matter of time. You know what I mean? Like, I do feel like, you know, we've been taking it for granted a little bit, and I think that I think it's time that changed.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, as well though, like on a kind of positive slant as well. I mean, do you feel quite proud that, you know, it feels like, you know, you guys have always been putting out banging albums, you know, like you say, for nearly 10 years now. Do you feel that with the industry being so brutal, you know, and like, you know, with bands disappearing at the drop of a hat, and bands that were big, you know, disappearing at the drop of a hat? I mean, do you feel that you've kind of survived that in a way, that you've kind of beaten the industry in that respect?
Yeah, totally, man. I mean, I think that we have a very punk rock approach to the way we tour and the way we deal with our band as a business. We're very smart. For instance, on this tour, it's, you know, we're supporting of Mice and Men, so, you know, we're not the headliners, so we're touring in a van, and it's a very scaled down production. It's very punk rock, and I think that it's smart. You know, we don't have a lot of crew that we're paying and things like that. And I've definitely watched other bands, you know, we've been on other tours where the bands were playing before us in a full tour bus with the full crew. And I'm like, you guys are going home in debt. Like, that's not going to work. So, yeah. So, we've been very, very smart and tactical with our approach to how we tour, and it's been able to allow us to make a living off this. Even when, you know, even like last year when it was like kind of one of our lowest years as a band, and we still were able to sort of like, you know, stay afloat, and you know, a few of us own homes and cars and everything else. We're married, and it's like that's part of, you know, that's amazing that we could make a living and thrive off of, you know, the type of music we play, which isn't, you know, very popular, you know, in most circles. And so yeah, we've just been very determined, and we stay consistent, and we stay hungry. I think that's the most important part.
Right, Jack, do you want to take this one first?
Hell yeah. Basically, Blessthefall are sick.
Yes.
And have been for a long time, and people have underappreciated them, and I hope they realise what them not taking notice of this brilliant band has done, that it almost saw them completely fall off the edge. And you can see that in like what Beau's saying, that like it's interesting, like hearing him talk so openly about the past. And it's we say it every week that like bands aren't worried about like ruffling feathers, and Beau is someone who's done this here, like the switch over to Rise, how things didn't work out at Fearless and stuff, but then like showing what that time and that kind of like putting your feet over the edge and thinking, well, we may as well just free fall now, has done to make Hard Feelings, which when this album comes out, honestly, I think I'm obsessed. Like it's really got under my skin, like how brilliant this album is, and just the fact that they've gone, right, we're going to be this new kind of band, we want to be like a bit poppier, we want to experiment with these things, but still being like gut-bustingly heavy and sticking to the roots, but also like going in step about like lyrically and like not holding back. It's a completely new age, and it's just so exciting that a band who have been around for like 10 years now, like in one form or another, like have like in the same way that like Chris from Dashboard has always been around, they've watched bands come and go, and they've always been there in some way, shape or form. And maybe it is a case that people just expected them to be there, to always be there and just exist. But the fact that they've outlived so many people and are still going strong and are like probably at their best ever now, like is a really exciting thing.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, they're genuine survivors, you know, and obviously we chatted about that and how the industry is really difficult, you know, massive bands break up, you know, people lose interest and whatnot, and Beau and the rest of the guys in Blessthefall, genuine survivors, you know, they pushed through these really hard times, created what Jack said, you know, an absolute mosh banger. It's absolutely amazing, and just to kind of come back and have this absolute vitality and verve and still have that hunger to want to do this and keep pushing and being smart about things, you know, doing a van tour and like just doing the right things basically. It's absolutely brilliant to see. And you know, like Jack says, when you hear this album again, just like in terms of a mosh pit album, man, this album's so good, and just Beau's melodies are amazing. Tamsin, what are you saying?
I mean, kind of similar in terms of Underoath as well. Like I Blessthefall soundtracked a lot of my teenage years when I was at university, and like metalcore, like these bands were at like kind of the peak of the metalcore movement, and I kind of feel metalcore is with Underoath coming back and Blessthefall with their new album and like kind of the shift in, you know, moving to Rise and kind of changing things up a bit with their band as well. I feel like metalcore's getting this kind of like it's being picked up again. Like obviously there kind of seems to be shifts in what genre of rock is trendy or whatever, you know. It was pop punk for like 4 years, and I feel like there's a lot of new metalcore bands coming out as well, and it's kind of weird to seeing a lot of the newer metalcore bands, but then the bands that have probably really influenced all of these newer artists coming through, and they're collectively going to make this really incredible metalcore scene again. But it's kind of like, I feel like we've got like the grown-up metalcore kids, and then you've got like the newcomers as well. like Underoath and Blessthefall, they've seen it all, they've done it all, they've learned a lot, they've experienced a lot, they've been so close to breaking up, and just kind of gotten through all the fights and the arguments that bands face over a 10-year period. But they're still here, and they're still making great music, and it's really cool to see that. Even when you're kind of like at the point where it's like, do we call it a day? Like the last album didn't go so well, the label's not really backing us like they used to. Like, what do we do? Is this the end? Like, bands can still get through that and still deliver like the new music that Blessthefall are. So fair play to them.
Yeah, well, definitely, yeah. I mean, I really respected as well kind of what you've said, you know, in that he's not afraid to go, you know, come on, it is our time, you know, we've influenced all these bands, people tell us that we were their first show or their first album or whatever, you know, like, it's our time to really kind of take the mantle now for people to appreciate us, and I thought that was really cool, you know, and of course, like, I mean, obviously, in a joking way, likening himself to Liam Gallagher, being like, I don't want to be a Liam Gallagher in metalcore, yeah, just absolutely brilliant.
I think that should be, like, his Twitter bio from now on, it's like the Liam Gallagher of metalcore.
Another thing I really like is, and it's like based around self-love, because like he's going how To Those Left Behind, which may have gone on people's radars, like great songs on that. Like Hollow Bodies, people went into it, but we like that album, we still do it. Like I like when bands are like, you know what? Even if no one listened to this, I love it, and I still do. Yeah, like it's more people should do that. Like not so many bands now will go, oh well, new stuff's the good stuff. Like we don't play that old nonsense anymore. It's like no, I love everything you do. Like you put your heart and soul into that, and like to see him going, yeah, we like it. Like that's really nice to see.
Yeah, no, it is, and especially that it came after, you know, because obviously he told us a story of what had happened, but then he was like, but you know what, I do still really back To Those Left Behind. I thought, yeah, like you say, I mean, I love that. It's so cool. Like, it just feels like you say, because he's such a nice guy, none of it was arrogant. It was just in a self-love way, you know. It's like, you know, we are proud of this, and no one's going to kind of take that away from us, and I thought that was awesome, yeah.
He's the loveliest man in metal.
Yeah, just absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, when you hear this album, again, like Underoath, you know, there's a lot of connections, like we've said, between, you know, all of the interviews this week, and it's just, I feel like when you guys hear all this stuff and you feel the vitality behind the music especially, it's going to really blow you away, and I think that's amazing to have in a scene. It suggests that things are, you know, in a very healthy way, which is brilliant. So a huge shout out to Beau and Blessthefall, absolutely amazing. So just a reminder that our new issue, When Patty Met Austin, is on sale at shop.rocksound.tv. As mentioned earlier, the Austin Night bundle is gone. The Patty Waters bundle is gone. You guys bought them all up very, very quickly. But the Patty and Austin bundle is still available, including the Patty and Austin magazine cover, of course, hand-signed poster print, vinyl stickers, pin badge pack, and exclusive Patty and Austin tote bag with all free worldwide shipping. Absolutely amazing. Also includes 32 amazing stickers, all sorts of stuff. Shop.rocksound.tv. So get on that now before it sells out. Absolutely brilliant stuff. So this is going to be the last Rock Sound podcast for a little while, but we are going to be back in a brand new format, as I said at the beginning of the show, in the very near future, with all sorts of exciting new features, cool new stuff, loads of stuff to come. So definitely keep an eye on the socials, everything. Be on lock for it. It's going to be absolutely amazing, guys. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, it's been alright, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Like all the best bands were going on hiatus, and we'll come back like Fall Out Boy or
Underoath. Yeah.
Definite hiatus. Wait for our statement online. With a video with like our like most ballad like tune.
It'll be like black and white, and it'll just be Jack sort of just being like, it was time. We needed a break.
Need space. I'm just gonna go back.
We needed to reignite the creative flow.
I'm just gonna go back in storage for a bit, like recharge my batteries.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's been a lot of fun. You know,
please don't mess us too much.
Yes.
We will be back.
Yes, and we'll see you guys very soon, I guess. Hope you enjoyed the show, and as I say, very soon, keep an eye on those socials.
All right, love you. See you soon. Bye. Take it easy. Look, turn the lights off when you leave. Yeah. See you. Bye.
Bye.